Hey everybody, this is my 10-gallon living room tank, and off to the top left you'll see my powder blue Dwarf Gourami up there. I've got some neons, I've got a couple of black neons, and I've got a peppered Cory somewhere in there on the bottom of the tank, and that's pretty much it. This tank doesn't have a whole lot in the way of community in here. I don't spend much time in this room. My wife spends time in here when she's not at work. So she enjoys this tank, but I don't really. But I do like to come in here from time to time and have a look at it because I am really fond of gouramis, and this is another one of my tanks that has gourami in it. And so I like to come in here and enjoy the gourami. I just think they're cool fish. I like their personality. I like the way they move. I like the way they interact with their environment. And he is a cool one. So the real reason we're looking at this tank, I probably ought to be getting in here and doing a water change. You can see the water level's getting kind of low. I like to keep my tanks fairly well topped off. And this little pile of mess right here looks like some food that landed on a leaf and didn't get eaten, and then it wound up getting that sort of fungusy stuff that grows on uneaten food in a tank. No big deal. It's not going to harm anything, but I probably ought to get in here and do a little bit of a water change and get the tank cleaned up a little bit. It seems like it's probably about due. This is one of those tanks, sort of out of sight, out of mind. I don't think too much about it. But it's also one of those tanks that I seldom have any issues with. It's just a nice little tank that sits in here and ticks over. Now, I am running into an issue with my plants. I know it's kind of hard to tell. This tank's not meant to be thick with plants. The little light on top is very low budget. This is a little 10-gallon starter kit that came with the LED. So let's have a look down in from the top here for a minute. So it's plenty of bright LED, but it's only those two little spots. You can see the reflections in the water. So based on where that is, directly above that greenery right there, it makes it pretty difficult to actually get a lot of light into the tank, even though in theory it should be very brightly lit. So one of the things I want to do is get into this tank and cut some of the Java Fern out. I don't necessarily need to thin the fern out, but you can see there's two main rhizomes running parallel to each other. This one here on the top, the rhizome continues all the way up into the glass, and then the rhizome actually bends and starts curling up here. So I can literally cut one of these rhizomes off right here, and all of this thickness would still stay in there. I would just sort of be cutting all of this stuff out, and it would give me a whole new chunk of rhizome that I could put somewhere else. And then of course down on this end of it, if we wanted to just sort of trim it up a little bit, you can kind of make out, see how this one rhizome comes off the main branch and curls up here, and all these leaves are coming off of that one. I could cut that rhizome down here and we'd still have plenty of foliage in there. It would just thin it out enough that the tank would get more light in it. But I kind of like it like this. I sort of like it with the fish being able to drift in and out of the darkness, and it's just a cool tank. You know, I like it. It's not real complicated. It's not real visually complicated. It's got one plant in it. All it has is that Java Fern on a pile of rocks and a few caves and stuff in the bottom. If you look, you can see it's pretty typical of the way I set my rock structures up. I've created plenty of cave structure and everything for the fish to hide in. So it's a pretty dynamic little tank just for being a little 10-gallon. But it's going to be time to do some changes in there. I really need to thin those plants out. Fortunately, I've got something in mind for a place for them to go. If you're not familiar with my Patreon page, I do have a Patreon page now, and I am going to be shooting a video, hopefully very soon, for my Patreon patrons, a little behind the scenes look at a project I'm going to be working on here in the very near future, and I'm going to need some plants for it. And these plants can probably be at least some of the plants I'm going to need for it. So I'm up to 23 subscribers over on my Patreon page. When I get to 25, I will be shooting this video. So I need 2 more people to go over there and subscribe. You'll, at the very least, get early access to all my YouTube videos, and you'll get a bunch of private stuff that I only put up over there at the Patreon page, which is a lot of behind-the-scenes kind of stuff, some more personal chat-type videos. You'll get to know me personally a little more about me and my history and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. For my YouTube viewers, as I always keep saying, other than me doing these little plugs from time to time, excuse me, other than me doing these little plugs from time to time, trying to get people to be enthusiastic about my Patreon page. Other than that, nothing's really going to change here at my YouTube channel, so nothing to worry about there. At any rate, I'm going to get on with it. I need to get my evening started. I may get in here and do a water change this evening if I feel motivated for it. The other thing I did want to mention about this tank is this is the tank I was considering moving my other pea puffer to. I was complaining that one of the pea puffers in my pea puffer tank in my office is being bullied by the larger of the two pea puffers, and I thought this might be a suitable tank for it to live in, and I still do. And if the bullying continues, I may separate them. My concern, of course, is that I've got the Dwarf Gourami in this tank, and gouramis are not necessarily the friendliest of animals. They're often labeled as being good community animals, but that doesn't necessarily mean they always get along with everybody. So I'm not sure how the gourami would deal with the pea puffer in this tank. I suspect it wouldn't be a big deal. That pea puffer is so small, as long as the puffer didn't bother the gourami, I don't think the gourami would care. But I've had bad experiences with gouramis being aggressive towards other fish, and I would hate to have that happen with the puffer. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's an option. This, as far as I can tell, is probably my best option. If I do find it necessary to move one of those puffers, this would be the best tank for me to be able to move it into. So let me know what you think. I always like hearing everybody's comments and everything down below. Don't forget to check out my Patreon page. You can also just follow me over on Patreon. I do post stuff over there publicly, very similar to what I do on my Google+. So if you like the fish photos and GIFs and little oddball stuff like that, you can follow me on Patreon free of charge. You just don't get full access to all the behind-the-scenes goodies that the actual paying patrons get. So go check it out, have a look, see what you think, and please, by all means, subscribe if you feel you can afford $1 or $2 per month for all of the stuff you'll get over there on my channel. I personally think it's a great bargain, and so far so does a few of the other people that have already signed up over there. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe here to my YouTube channel. And then don't forget, this one is my living room tank. I don't shoot very many videos of this, but it is indeed my living room tank, and it does have its own playlist. So thanks for watching. See you real soon.